Hello, Agora community, and welcome back to the conversation. Today we have, surprise, another guest who is part of someone over here's backstory. David has worked with this particular amazing individual back in the day over DreamWorks. So I'm actually going to do what I usually do in those kind of situations. I'm going to bring in David first and let him do the intro because he certainly knows Marco better than me. So let's bring in David and get the party started. Hello.
Hey, Brent. Yeah, we should actually do a special series, a conversation with ex-DreamWorks colleagues, because we now have a pretty good collection of them.
There is a very long collection of them. There are many have showed. And once I feel like so many people have either they still work at DreamWorks or they worked at DreamWorks for a while and have gone on to do other crazy and amazing things. So yeah, it's kind of a nice ground zero of talent to be, tapping and having them come in here and share their sort of their experiences.
Yeah, and Marco has a super interesting background. I mean, we were animators back then, but then he moved to an animation supervisor position, and now in a storyboarding position over time. So it's just interesting to have those discussion with creative minds that are kind of evolving over time and touching many different aspect of storytelling and entertainment and all that. So yeah, that'll be a fun. It'll be fun to catch up and also discuss his various experience that he has in the last couple of years, because he had the chance to work with a pretty amazing directors along the way.
Yeah.
So that'll be
Some
fun
titans.
to have his perspective.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's bring him in and we can start picking his brain. And there he is. Hello, Marco. How are you? Pleased to meet you and happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi. How are you today, Marco?
How is going? It's good. It's good.
Very zen. You may be the most zen person I've ever had. That's awesome.
Yeah, you do look pretty relaxed. Are you like at the end of a production or something like that? You don't look stressed
I start
at
the
all.
production.
Oh boy,
you're at the start of production. Okay, so the very end and the start is usually a bit more relaxing than the middle part.
No. It's a tough moment in reality. I'm feeling relaxed. You can see me relaxed, but I'm not inside.
That's good. Well, you're doing a great job at looking pretty relaxed. Maybe we can take it from you've there was a lot happened, let's say, since we worked alongside at DreamWorks. Maybe just to start there, or a little bit earlier, just a quick recap of what led you to become an animator, which eventually landed an animation position at DreamWorks. How was this part of your journey?
Okay, my journey is really long because I never had so I have to make everything short because I never had any art school, anything of that. At zero, and no one in my family is artist. Zero of everything. Plus, I'm from a small city in south of Italy, Matera, that is famous city because everything is in the historical city, all of the town more or less. But every time was there is the artist part of the people was not a good things. The artists are the people that they don't know how to do other things, so they try to paint or drawing. Was not, they don't see that as a good skills or whatever. Cultural.
Interesting.
Even if it's in Italy, that all the people think, in Italy the nation,
the Renaissance and
the art arena. Yeah, but inside we forgot that. So was and literally for me was something that only some people, the alien people, can do that from other part of the world. When you see something so far that is not part of you, no, I cannot do. I'm not living in that place. And it's so impossible that you don't even dream that. So we
hear this a lot. We get a lot of people, honestly, like people that have become very, very, very like some of the best people in their trade here in animation, they almost always their genesis. Have you noticed that, David? Like a lot of people's backstory is this. It's like, I honestly just didn't even think. And then one day it dawned on them that like, I could actually maybe do this. It's so funny. It's like, interesting. Anyway,
that was 100% my reality as well as a kid, thinking about making movies, but never in a world I could imagine that I could eventually do a living of creating those movies. It was just a fantasy. I didn't even knew where to start. I had just no idea. I just knew that it was really cool.
Have even that fantasy. I don't even and never think about making a movie. I was watching a movie and I love it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like a normal person. The thing was, is the thing. Everything happened when I was 20 years old, because before on that, not even thinking about anything of this. And what was happening that every time, the only thing I was different of my friends was that even at 18 years old, 20 years old, I was watching animation movie. And so I had to go to the theater alone. And so I was the awkward guy, 20 years old, alone in the seat with a bunch of kids watching the movie.
With their parents keeping the kids close because of this creepy 20-year-old behind.
Yeah. So that was the only difference from my friends. So in what's happening, that I love where there was the making of the movies. That was for me beautiful. And generally we have in Christmas in Italy, a making of whatever, or Disney movie or other things. So one time it literally happened that I was in Florence to study architecture, and all my friends left home. And so I was waiting my day to go at home in Christmas. And one of these days I was alone at home, and there was, I think, the making of Hunchback of Notre Dame and Prince of Egypt, one after the other. And I was listening Christophe Serran, William, these people talking about what they were doing and the structure. And I don't know what's happening. Like something explode. And at one point, I was not. I said, maybe if I have this kind of people, if I can work or I can meet this kind of people, and if they are supervisor and they correct me for what I'm doing, maybe I can even do it. That was 20 years old, happening in that house. And after that, I remember I went to in architecture the day after. I went to my friends. I said, look, and I told them what I was thinking, what I thought the day before, just to tell why maybe I can do that, I can do the other things. And one of my friends gave me a small was not even a publicity of something, a school that was a scam, of course. In Florence, I went there. I paid, was not too much, but I paid money. I didn't have money. And so I had to decide to eat or pay that school, because my parents didn't know anything. That was always, no one knows anything. So I paid that school. After 2 months, I left the school because I was learning that was almost a scam, and no one was telling me what I want to know. So, and the thing I was doing that moment, that there was a small store in Florence that I bought one of the book, the making of, and what I was watching, I didn't know any English, anything, but so I was watching picture and whatever was there over and over. And I saw that the school was not teaching me that. And so when I saw that the school doesn't know how to teach me, because I said, the only thing I want to learn is this. Don't tell me other method. I don't care. Plus Italian method, I don't like it. So teach me this. Teach me this. So if you cannot teach me this, I prefer lose money, but don't lose my time. That was what's happening. The luckiness of that was that during these 2 months, I heard about this name that all the people seems they know him, was an Italian guy, Davide Benvenuti, that was working in Disney Australia, and after he worked even in LA in DreamWorks for Spirit and Sinbad. So I heard this name and I said, okay, I have to meet this guy. This is the only one, because I didn't know anything. I didn't know even how to put a lapis to do animation, a pencil to do animation. I don't know anything, no people. So it was the only name that for me was someone. And so after 2 months, of course, it was without Facebook, Instagram, and not even internet. Almost internet was in the beginning. So I don't know how right now I will be incapable to do it. But after 2 months and a half, I was literally in every place I were in Florence, because I know that this guy was from Florence. So I said, I'm in his town. Someone has to know him. So every time I went in some party on someone, I was asking the people if they know this last name. And
so basically, you were stalking him for a while in Florence.
Yeah.
Physically looking for him.
Okay, just full transparency. I just wanted to make sure that was
following the story. Absolutely. And so after, I don't know, I think 2 months or something like that, there was one. I went in this house of this guy that they want to try to do animation, whatever they want, and they were talking, and I was asking them whatever, and at one point one of these guys knows the friend of the mother of whatever, and I said, okay, I'm closer and closer. Okay, at the end
closing in.
Yeah, at the end, I remember had this number in Australia. I call in Australia. Of course, I mistake the hours, so I was wake up in the people at 6 in the morning.
Oh man, amazing!
Yeah. So and even there, the first number I called, he was not living there anymore. But I was lucky that the people who were living there has his number.
His number. Said, oh my God.
Yeah, that never happened. How? Okay. No. So at the end, I called him, and I was one night and in my room, and I told him, I know that you don't know me, you don't know even who I am. You don't even know if I'm drawing or not, but I want to start this. What I have to do, and of course, you imagine from the other point, someone call you, you don't know him. You want to start to do animation, and you don't know what he's capable to do. Plus, you don't have the Instagram. Let me see your drawing. No, there was no way.
Yeah.
But I was lucky that he was kind. And of course, he started to understand if it was really passionate, if it was a crazy guy or whatever. And at one point, he told me one thing. He told me, Marco, one thing I can tell you, plus we can continue to talk if you want, and I have to see what you are capable to do to even understand whatever. But he told me, Marco, I think right now, if you want to really do this, you have even to think that one day you have to leave your country. That a lot of time is, and I remember I didn't sleep that night because I know that if this has to be serious, I have to put everything in discussion. So whatever it was. And after that, I went in this small studio in Florence that they were doing Italian animation things. And after years there, I moved to Turin for 9 months. I was always trying. I remember my mother asked me, and after Milan for 4 years, my mother always was asking me, Marco, every time why you are changing every time the studio, and every time you tell me no, but this one is better. Was true. I was going in the better studio, but after 9 months, a year and a half, that studio, I was feeling that was small, was not enough, because
you weren't learning anymore.
yeah, I wanna learn. And for me, the first experience on sea was blow my mind. Because I didn't know anything about ANSI. I didn't know anything about that. And one time, one guy told me, Marco, do you want to come to ANSI? What is ANSI? That is an amazing festival. And so I went. I remember it was the first year. Yeah, it was the first year. Yeah, completely. Plus, because I was learning, changing my life psychologically and not. Because I started to learn what was mean, at least drawing, animation, what was. So I learned something there that, of course, when you are in a small world, even the ego is easy. That, if you are the best of the studio, your ego, plus I was young. So that was happening to me. And I was a start. I was not even a professional. But what's happened when I went to ANSI? And that was the first time I met in person Davide, the guy who was in Australia.
The guy you called.
Yeah.
He was there.
And there where I really stalked him, because I told him, look, I'm not leaving you, but if I'm pain in the ass, tell me in the face and I will leave. But I will be your shadow. Sorry.
Yeah.
And after we became friends. That was good thing. But what I learned there, that I went with a small part of ego that I know I can do something. And of course, just in the line to see the other people, what they were showing. Of course, I never saw how good the people are, because I never went, I never met these people. I never saw them drawing. So for me, the first time there, just only in the line, in a couple of lines, I left the line, because I said,
crushed.
I'm a bullshit. Why I'm here? Are you crazy? So that ANSI, I remember, was even the people from Disney France, that they were insanely good. It was, for me, was a smash in my face, like boom, boom. I went at home with, okay, stop this with the ego, with this thing. Put myself in the position that every year I had to go in and see, to put myself with the foot on the ground.
Your ego.
Yeah. And I had, a couple of years later, I had LA, America, because every time I save money, I came to Disney, DreamWorks, and Pixar to show my thing. And I always had these two plays where every time I was showing my thing, and to really understand what was if I was really learning, if I was improving. And as you said before, put my ego, down in the ground. And so that was something that I was doing always, constantly. And in the same time, I was learning that every year I went in ANSI. Every year I went in. I came here in California. I was looking that the people were talking to me in different way. The first time they were talking with me like I was a student, and after more the years were passing, more the talking was as a better and better professional. So that was for me something that, okay, I think I'm doing correct. I'm doing what supposedly I had to do, and I'm improving. So, and after that, of course, after Italy, I had a small experience in Germany, and after I went to Spain. Before in Santiago de Compostela, and for me was the first feature animation in 3D. That I didn't know anything, zero, completely. And so I put, plus I was, if the studio, before there was a Soft Image and Maya. So I was if the studio was using Maya, I told them that I was using Softimage. If the studio uses Softimage, I was telling them I use Maya. Literally, I didn't know how to use both of them.
Neither of
I didn't
them.
know the 3D, neither of that. So I was telling that because they will put someone close to me. It's like if I didn't know how to do something, there was this guy, a more technical guy. No, Marco, yeah, in Maya is this, but here is a this. I said, okay, thank you. And I was learning like that. There was no other way. And so, and I remember that I did one entire movie, my first entire movie, that I didn't even know the differences in between IK and FK.
Oh boy,
I didn't know.
it's impressive.
Zero.
For the entire movie.
Entire movie. I discovered the IKFK when I finished that movie. In the other one, in Madrid, in Planet 51, because the other movie, yeah, they will tell me, no, Marco, it's easy to move like that. But I remember spend amount of hour to counter animate the IK, and so was frame by frame. Was it amazing learning? But I don't know if it was an effort.
Yeah, you had to pay for it with your sanity, basically.
Wow, yeah. And I said, how is possible there is not another method that is better? There was.
Yeah,
there was
amazing.
another method. Yeah. So, but after that movie, I left. I was just 1 year in that movie, and there was this studio in Spain, Ilion, that they were building something. Apparently, was so interesting, but was so secret. It was like in the desert, the Area 51. It was like that, literally. You cannot even have an interview for And I was lucky, thank you, my 2D, literally, that I can get that interview. And so I went there and I saw the basis of what they were doing, and I said, "Whoa, this is in Europe, never can happen." Yeah, with this quality or this amount of efforts was unique, and so I left. They hired me. And I remember I think when we started, we were 40 people like that, and 4 animators. One of these animators now is in Pixar. He was insanely precise. He was a machine with the curves. He can replicate everything. And he was so organized and perfect that even the curve editor you can read
beautiful
easily.
Curves.
Yeah, it was insane. Javi Moya, and one time I went to him, and of course I discovered the FK. I discovered, and so he told me, Marco, I know that you are thinking still in a 2D way. This is why sometimes is not so clean. Now the curves works in this way. And for me, the first time was for me, this is so cold way to work.
Yeah, feels mathematical, right?
Yeah, too mathematical. So I don't feel it. But I said, I don't care. Let me just try these mathematic things, and I want to see what's happening. So I close myself. I decided to do a test for a character, and so even study the personality. And I closed myself for, I think, 2 weeks and not 3 weeks, using his suggestion. We not even question it. I said, I don't even question if it's art or no art, is a cold or whatever. I have to do it. I had a headache all days because it was going against myself. But after that 3 weeks, I start to understand I start to understand how the really curves was working. And when I showed to him the first test I did, he said, Marco, how? because he was shocked about the improvement in that 3 weeks. And so that the reaction for me was, okay, if I know better the curve, I can go back on the artistic part. So learn more and more the technicality of that, so you can forget and you concentrate again on the artistic part, on the acting, on that things. That was for me hard to understand when I was replicating the 2D and 3D.
It's almost like go ahead.
No, tell me. Yeah, no.
I was just going to say it's sort of kind of it feels similar to learning how to animate in 2D because you have to master drawing first, right? It's almost like a gateway. You have to figure that, because if you're still worried about how to draw something, then you're not thinking about animation. You're kind of like you're distracted almost. So I've always felt like the really welcoming and understanding how 3D animation works and getting into the mathematics is the equivalent of learning how to draw, basically.
And I put myself always in that situation, that position. And this is happening even right now. For all my career, in one point I said, I don't care, I jump on that and I will figure out. And that is what happened. And so after that, okay, we did a movie, we even structured the pipeline of that studio of Ilion. We did all the movie. I was one of the 5 supervisor animator there. And after that, I went to DreamWorks. And in DreamWorks, for me, I start from the beginning again. There was a software that was really horrible. I was almost crying when I went there. I said, for me, I was watching the movie Kung Fu Panda. That I said, okay, if the people did that, means that there is a way. I don't see the way still. I don't see the way, but there is a way. If they did it. And so after a couple of months, I start to understand that. And so work with with Emo. And after, likely, we changed the software. And that new software, I remember in Dragon 2, was one of the first one was with that software. And everything was even better and better. And even there, I always put myself in a situation where even just the change of the monitor, because I remember when they gave us the Cintiq for the animator, because with the new software you can animate on Cintiq. I remember I said, okay, I want to use the Cintiq to animate. I want to touch the character. I love that. And I remember the first 2 months I was so slow. And I was so was a mess. And I remember to call the technician and said, look, sorry, but I think we have to change it again, the monitors and everything, the setup. And back on the mouse. But for me, it was losing a battle. I said, the future is with the Cintiq. I have to use it. I cannot use the Cintiq as a monitor. And so I was losing it. But that is why I was a stubborn. I don't care if I have a headache. But what's happening that after these 2 months, when the technician changed the setup again as a Cintiq, as a monitor, and again with the mouse, I realized that I became slower with the mouse. I said, so I was learning. And so I called him again and said, sorry, I promise you I will not call you anymore. Can you
come get those monitors back? Bring back the Cintiq. I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I said, I will not call you anymore. I promise you. So they changed again. And at the moment I said, okay, no, this is how I want to work. And after this happened, when I started to do storyboard, I never did any class of storyboard. But I know that I have to, when I will change on storyboard, I will go back on studying storyboard and so start with a small movie. No, I was in DreamWorks, and you already have to work with the people that are doing storyboard for 10 years, 20 years, that are completely machine. And so for me was, I have to figure out. And so it was a really
So
sorry.
Marco, I'm curious,
Yeah.
why did you make this transition from being a successful professional animator at DreamWorks? Say, you know what? All right, I've done that for long enough. Let's. I want to
Okay,
storyboard now.
there was a two reason. One reason was because I always see a gap in the big studios, a gap of collaboration in between departments. And even when the big studios sometimes said about collaboration, for me is more cooperation in between departments that really collaboration. For me, the collaboration is where you put the other department in your shoes and the opposite. So I felt that in between a storyboard layout and animation, even when they are talking, they are not doing really together the movie. And that happened because for me happened that sometime happened to me to start a movie, study a character, developing character, even before then storyboard was drawing that, developing that character. And I try to have that collaboration because I'm totally believe on the things that like in live action happen. The director is the guy has the overview, and after there is the storyboard artist that, because how the American studio are working, generally they are working constantly on the plot, and they are not developing the characters, or they are not developing the cinematography languages. Of course, it's not everyone. The majority, how the studio is because the studio is constantly change the movie or the idea, and so he's always doodling, and so everything is always a flatter and flatter, and so there is not too much cinematography in some time, because after layout will do, there is not too much a study on a character. Yeah, because animation will do. Now every time you think about that, when a layout came, is already late. When animation came, is already late, because already the studio and the overhead people saw the storyboard in that simple form. So when you start to add the complexity, a lot of time they don't accept that complexity because they don't read in that way. And this happen even with the dialogue. If you are too simple and you don't add the cinematography in the storyboard, you need always more dialogue. So when you make a movie in that way, in simple way, with a lot of dialogue, and you see and watching and rewatching and rewatching, plus one thing is the artist, one thing is the studio, the overhead of the other people. Now they are used to see that. They want to listen that words, they want to listen that joke. So when you make the other steps in a layout or in animation, that sometimes you don't need to talk, you don't need the joke, you can show the joke, you don't have to explain the joke, all these things, it's hard to do that because it's too late. Plus a lot of time when the animators, when they start to develop a character, they go deep down in that development. They are really change the character. They are really thinking different way. Now, I always said, you imagine an animator, you can talk with the animator. You put the animator in your shoes, and you bring all the idea of the animator want to put in animation, but you start to put that idea in storyboard and in the script. Because for me, happen a lot of time that you develop things, you develop idea, and after you don't have time in the screening to put it because everything is cutting away.
Exactly.
So Yeah. And what I learned talking with the people in the 40s, they were for Arcane, they were thinking in storyboard about all these things. So when after you have a time to put that in animation, in layout, because you are thinking earlier on that. So that was the reason I said, okay, I want to go in storyboard and I want to try even to build this bridge.
Yeah.
Because
Something
I
that you
know
mentioned.
the part. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Marco, but what you describe is definitely what I remember from Big Studio. That it's often a relay race between different departments. Of okay, I've done my part, now let's do yours, and okay, I'm done, let's do yours, and so on. And the result is, sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's not so great. But one example that for me is at the extreme opposite of what you're describing, and that could be a good segue for this part of the conversation, is the work of Alberto Mielgo. Because when I saw his storyboarding, his animatic, I mean, his story are usually without dialogue. So, it's all visual storytelling. And because he controls both the idea in the first place and the storyboarding and the animatic, and then he's going to shoot with actors and so on. I mean, yes, it's easier when you just have one brain to deal with and you're able to do all of those steps, or you kind of have an internal dialogue between yourself as the director and yourself as the storyboard artist and yourself as the writer. But that's exactly the kind of workload that we're trying to that we should try to reproduce in studio. So just to segue,
just to add some before the question, just to add something to what you said, we have to be honest in the same time that we don't have Alberto Mielgo all the time. So my question, because with Alberto, he's so precise for every single aspect that there is my first experience. After we will talk with my first experience with Alberto, but so that you go in that way and you believe him, you just follow him and you try to help him. That is the only thing. Now, you don't have always that situation. So my point is, when you don't have that situation, what you will do? And that for me is the key. And of course, every time will change because every time the people are different. So when I think about casting, when I think about people, for me is the most important thing is this. It's like when you don't have Alberto Mielgo and you have 80 storyboard artists of different level, and you have a layout artist, you have animator, what you will do? So for me, that is when you answer that, and you don't have to create a method. It's like we did that for that movie, we will work for the other. No. Every time you understand the philosophy of that, and you cannot replicate. You have to change to have the same result. And that for me is where I will unify these people, talk together. So the animator in the storyboard room, because they will start to be upset. What was happened to me on Bad Guys, I realized that because I was in storyboard, when you know how to do something else, but because you don't have time, you know that you are missing, but you don't have time to do it, but you have to run. That was I was feeling. I'm doing storyboard, and but I cannot concentrate to do a development how I will do in animation. So for me was, okay, why we don't ask the animators? Because they will be obsessed about that and they can help us. In Bad Guys, we try, I think was a good first step for me for that. Try to unify that. But I think we need more.
What you're describing is a very, very difficult part of any filmmaking, especially with big studios and big team, because we're talking about collaboration in between many different departments and different people within those departments. And all of this team often change from one project to another. There's some people that just do not work well together. There's others that they have an amazing chemistry from the get-go. So it's almost like you have to sense, okay, what is this very dynamic, different teams that I in front of me, and how do I ensure that brainstorm and creativity is going to be fluid in between department, and that's extremely difficult. So much easier when you're in a small team that does everything at a little short film. Very difficult when you're hundreds of people working on a big production with deadlines and budget.
Yeah, but I think you can still do it. Is just start in with different approach, where the movie and the result of the movie is the most important thing, above of everything. If you start with that approach, you can get that. A lot of time is not, we are thinking that is our goal, but in between is not the only goal.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious, how did it happen to be an animation supervisor with Alberto Mielgo, and how was your experience working with him?
Okay, with Alberto, okay, I was living door by door with Leo Sanchez. We are friends, a really good friend, door by door, and Alberto was living close to us. We were friends, and we know each other. You know that Alberto was doing amazing thing with the Tron, all these things. You respect him, his painting. We want to buy his painting. Okay, but still as a friend. What was happening? That Leo left the studio, the Disney, the DreamWorks, and he wanna wanna create his own studio. And Alberto, in between them, because they were going out, I had a daughter. They doesn't have kids, so they go out more often. In one point, Alberto has this idea, and that he want to try in 3D, and Leo want to try to do something with him, and was really a big challenge to do what Alberto painted, what Alberto designed in 3D. Never happened. So that was from both of them, with David Corral, that was the guy was changing all the software, developing new tools for. We were living all in Los Feliz, close together. So that was happening, and I was not even involved. So in one point, Alberto, of course, he has all the animatic already there, even with the music. The music, it was from the first day, that music at the end of the movie, at the end of the short. And in one point, they start with a few animators. There was one in Spain, one in Canada, and one in Australia. And Alberto and Leo called me, Marco, do you want to do some shot or something? And I said, no, okay, yeah, why not? And at one point, I told them, look, if you want to help for organize the department, because already I was in DreamWorks, already I know I was developing already some character in DreamWorks. I know how to be in charge of some character. Plus, was a short. I said, look, if you want to help, I can help you. And Alberto, yeah, will be great. So literally, what I did, I get one shot, and it was the shot of both of them smoking on the beach. Of course, I have to do in Maya. I didn't know how to use Maya at all, and plus I said I have to work in DreamWorks. I cannot. So someone put the Maya in DreamWorks computer. Now it's history. We can say that. And so I start that shot, and I remember and that where when I start to learn how Alberto really worked, because Alberto showed me the animating. One day we have even a full talk about the animating. I told him what I was thinking, and he told me, Marco, I will give you the reference. And now Alberto now is a really pro on reference and everything. In that moment, he was doing references, but was still not sure we have to follow 100% the reference. He was doing the reference with the camera. Now he has a more camera. Was the beginning, of course, and we were a few people. There was no money. There was everything, and so I remember start to doing that shot, and I remember doing in a DreamWorks way. You know, I saw his reference. No, he didn't give me the reference. I did one on my reference with all my thinking, with adding this and this, and I showed to him, and he said, "No, Marco, I have a reference. This is the reference. I don't want other bullshit there." And for me, no, but
I'm sure those are the exact word that he used.
no. Was I don't this I don't want to over animate. I don't want to, and so, and for me was okay. I'm with a different kind of director, because for me it's even important to understand who is your director. And now that I left the DreamWorks, I had some other director, and at one point we are doing the job for them. And if they are amazing director and they have a clear idea, is your job is helping them to do in the best way possible. That is for me. So when I learned with Alberto that, Marco, because Alberto, he can see everything. He already has everything in his mind. So when you add something, even in animation, that is too much, because he see everything already with painting, with his what he will do, maybe it's really too much. So when he accepted his reference or whatever, he already thought about all these things. And when he do storyboard, so in one point is talk with him. You can of course have something, but is make that idea technically working, because a big part of that he already thinking. So now he has to express to you what he want to say.
Yeah.
So in one point it's easy, in the other part it's hard, because that is the only way you have to go.
Yeah, it can be very reassuring to know that you're working for a director that has a super clear vision. At the same time, there are some artists that feel that if they do not participate into the creative process and they're just executing, that they feel that it might be less interesting for them. So I think that it very some would find that, can I please just work with him for the rest of my career, and others will be like, yeah, it's not for me. I think it changed for everyone.
Yeah, and for me it depends. It's like if you are executing things but the result is amazing, okay.
Exactly.
If you're executing things and the result is horrible, that is where you say no. Now there is even another thing. See, if you have to spend all your life just executing, maybe it's too much. In one point said, okay, I want to express more myself, but how much you learn too. So can be that. So every time for me, that is why I always put at the end what the quality of what you are doing is. Like I can be an executor if what I'm doing, I believe that what I'm doing is beautiful, and so I'm a part of that beautifulness. Why not? This is our job. We don't have to be always be on the top of the pedestal of the table to show what we are. We can show even just executing. It's like a lot
Yeah.
of time when you heard about the editor, a good editing is where you don't see that there
You don't
is
notice
an
it.
editing, you don't notice it or whatever.
Yeah.
Even a good
Yeah.
animator is like that, when you don't notice that you feeling the feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, so
You know,
we're covering the direction that you're provided and the different style of the directors, and that's something very interesting, because you've worked with directors in Spain, of course, before that in Italy at DreamWorks, the Dean DeBlois and others, so a lot of amazing directors over there. Then you had the chance to work with Alberto Mielgo, and then Guillermo del Toro. And you also mentioned that shortly you will be working with another of the great ones of our industry, Brad Bird. So I'm just curious, with all of those experience combined, what would you say for you is, what is good direction, whether it's super precise or loose, and what are maybe other less worse experience that you had with the director? So in other words, what are you expecting from a director in general from your past experience?
okay, at the end, always there is this conversation about what do you expect about director, and when you will become director, there is a people say there director has to know a lot of things or no or whatever. At the end, look, I I thought that the director has to have a good taste, a good sensibility. He cannot understand anything about lighting. He cannot understand anything about animation. But he has a team that the good taste, because sometimes you don't know how to do things, but you have a good eyes, you have a good ear. That is for me the most important thing about the director, because what's happened is every day of a director life, there is a team they ask you, quest you everything. Do you like this? Do you want this? Do you want? Now every day you can choose a good things or shit things. So a movie is an amount of good shows or shit shows. That
Usually a
at
little bit
the
of
end,
both.
if you yeah. So at the end, more good shows you do, and better is your movie. And of course, there is this different kind of director. There is an Alberto Mielgo that is really sure about what he want to do it. So is his vision, and that's it. And the result is even good. So in that point is follow him. You can question, you can talk, but look, more the director knows what he want to tell, and more for me, the talk with him are interesting, because when you talk with a professional, a professionist. It's like he has an idea, you try to help him. The best talk I had, even when I was developing the character, was with the director that they knows what they want. And so you ask them question, they tell what they want. Maybe you have a different idea. You tell them the idea. Now they chose to implement the idea or not. But even if it's not a problem. You get another idea. And so you are building together whatever he has in mind. Sometimes he doesn't even know what he wants. He has a picture of what he wants. But when you start to question it, sometimes they realize that, I didn't thought enough. And even that is okay. Because when you write a story, you are not thinking perfectly in everything. You will have a huge part where you have a blind spot that you don't know. And because a professionist that is trying to help you from whatever department, he asking you that, and you don't know how to answer, is for me is not a bad thing. Is okay, I didn't thought. Now we have to start to thought. And for me is, I will help you to think about that. I'll give you now what I know to help your vision.
Yeah.
So that for me are the best director. Generally, even if they don't have all the picture in their mind, generally they knows what more or less they want.
Yeah.
Worse is where even when you are discussing and you are showing that there is a big contradiction on the character, and they don't see it, or they don't they don't see that is a big problem or whatever, that is where it starts to be really hard, because really it's hard to help, because you are trying to help, but literally you are following something that you don't really understand. You are just okay, if you say so, I that is and happened to me, that for me was sometimes when, for me, when you said, look, it's your movie, okay, that is the worst can happen.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, because you're kind of checking out a little bit. Okay, my expertise doesn't seem to be recognized, and there's not really an opening to kind of discuss and try to see how we can improve things.
yeah, so for me, I'm not scared about people that knows perfectly what they want. I love the opposite. I love it, and I don't think my creativity is putting down. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
I have a better conversation because we are talking about really cinema. We are talking about really a character, because they care about that. They even thought sometimes, and you are dealing with the small things that they understand that the small things are really important.
Yeah.
So that for me is beautiful when you have that experience.
Yeah, well, one seems to be one of the biggest enemy of most directors. It can be just their ego, because sometime I had to work with some directors that I think that they were under the impression or pressure from the studio that they needed to be the one that had every answers, that they needed to do everything. And I think it's by building this pressure on themselves that would not allow them to be maybe what they would judge as maybe being vulnerable, but just to say, hey, good question, I don't know how. And the best director that I had to work with, they were like, oh yeah, they had good answer for this, but at the moment that there was something that they didn't know about, or they weren't sure, like, yeah, that's a good question, I have no ideas, what do you guys think, let's brainstorm about this. And I'm the goal is to get let's get the best idea of what we can have in the next 5 minutes conversation.
And literally as a pressure, because the studio are really pressuring you. It's really, so I always think it's better be with your team and divide this pressure with the team than not be alone, because that pressure will be so heavy. So that is why, if you have a blind spot or you don't know, you didn't thought about that or whatever, it's better that you have your team helping. It's not just one person, it's more than one. So you can be even stronger, and literally the pressure is not, you don't feel everything on top of you.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. After, it's even hard to get a good decision. It's hard to maintain that brain for 4 years, lucid, and it's not easy as a director.
Not only will the chances of a better solution be made available when you have more brains thinking about it, but also because you're involving your team, they're going to feel like there's more ownership, and they're probably going to feel a lot better about the sort of the spirit of collaboration. And so you kind of, it's a double win, right? Better chance of a good solution, and you've involved your team, so they're activated, and they feel appreciated. As opposed to, so you're kind of, there's no losing in a scenario like that, really, other than maybe if you have a fragile ego, maybe you'll lose something there. But
yeah,
but
that is another
exactly
another season, is another discussion.
That's right.
Well,
Totally.
there might be the fragility of the ego, but sometimes it's just pure studio politics. That if you
Yeah, you're
are
right.
pressured by your producer, and you feel that your producer is looking at every decision that you're making, like, oh shit, I need to look that I'm in charge and I make this. So you might overcompensating by being more in authority with your team and all that. So it often, I've observed that personal relationship between the directors, the department directors, the director, the producer, and even the head of studio is making a big difference. If they're able to create a more relaxed environment for the director, usually the directors will be more relaxed and in turn will involve more their team because they're not afraid of looking like, hey, we pay you way more than everyone else. Why don't you have all of the answers about all of the questions? This is what you should be doing. So there's an interesting dynamic right there to consider.
And there is one thing. Now, this is something that I want to add, that I really believe that there is even another things that a lot of time here in America, a lot, not always happen, but always the director is like, I want to be honest with myself, I think. And a lot of time the director came from a storyboard, and I think is not the only department can be director. Because what I saw is like Alberto is not a storyboard artist. He's a production designer, if you think. There is the director of Arcane, and they are not. One is a composer, and the other one is a comic artist too. And I saw a lot of editor capable to do it, a lot of layout artists. So in one end, I think that sometime animation, if I have to compare animation with the live action, just for the simple reason that animation, you do a movie in 4 years, and live action is faster, even the shorter you can do. And the school create directors. I feeling that sometimes the director in live action have a more knowledge that sometimes the directors in animation, and that means that not because they don't have it, because they didn't do it. Just because like you can have the knowledge, but if you don't do it, and if you want to do it in a short, you will spend maybe 2 years or 7 years. In a movie, 4 years. So be a director in animation, you will learn in 50 years. In live action, with the short and everything, maybe in a couple of years, you made, I don't know how many short. So you are learning faster. And the knowledge and the school in live action are sometimes stronger on this aspect.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
So for me, I want to be honest that sometime I think that in animation, because of this, maybe sometimes it's better unify even where the director came from. Means I will put 2 directors, one from animation and one from storyboard, one from editing and one from layout. The simple reason, because every time I see some director in animation, you can see where they're coming from. If his director came from storyboard, you can see that sometimes is more plot driven. When you see a director came from animation, you see that is more character driven, and even with sometimes the simplicity even of the camera, because sometimes the animator like more the face of the character always in camera because you can animate. When you have a layout is more thinking about always the composition, the camera. So you imagine you can unify sometime this knowledge. So if you have a storyboard artist, he has to work maybe with an animator, within a layout artist, a previous artist. They have to use the both languages because each one is an expert on that. And so you force to make to elevate, I think, sometime the language of the movie. You imagine one of the director is an editor. He will, from the first moment, he will put editing, maybe a different kind of editing in the movie from the first day. So I think this is a good. I will test that. I will try that.
Yeah, I would say cool. I've worked with a couple co-director, and when it's working well, it's extremely probably the best example I've seen was Dean DeBlois and Chris Sanders on The First Dragon, with that basically wrote and complete the entire movie in like 9 months, because it was like the first or second reboot of the movie and there was no more time. And they have similar background, but Chris Sanders was this mad creative genius, and Dean DeBois was this very methodical, practical filmmaker. So combined, you could have hundreds of creative ideas on one side, and many of them are shitty, but some are just genius, and Dean could just pick whatever was necessary and structure it in a way that would be super efficient and well. So yeah, I agree that sometimes you have the one like Alberto that is a one-man show, and he doesn't need necessarily to have a co-director, but there's some combination of directors that you couldn't do, one could not do without the other.
That at the end is the majority of the cases, because the Alberto Miegro, the Miyazaki, or whatever is one every.
Pretty rare.
Yeah, what you have generally is the other situation.
Yeah,
so
agreed. Brent, I see time flying by. Do we have questions in the chat?
We got at least one or two, I think. Speaking of which, chat, I think Scott piped up a little while ago and just reminded everybody that we will be doing some questions. So if you do have one, just put a Q : and then your question in chat. We'll pick it up and we'll throw it into the mix. So why don't we? I'll grab whatever's in there now, and we'll start tackling them. Oh, we got one from Veronica. What do you know? Okay, so Veronica asks, when you realized you'd have to move out of your home country, and that psychological shift that you said came with that realization, did other people around you, friends, family, etc., think you were nuts? She's asking for a friend for sure. She always does this.
Yes.
She's got a lot of friends in these predicaments.
Yes.
So yeah, they thought you were crazy.
Girlfriend. I have to be totally honest. Even to my wife, when a DreamWorks called me, we were not married. We were just we were a couple. But where DreamWorks called me, I told her, "Look, or you come with me, or I have to go." So
it's quite
now I change idea. But in this moment, now I will do the opposite. But now, in that moment of my life, I was so working for that, that the night I didn't sleep was processing that, and mentalize that maybe that will be my future. And so day by day, I was working on that and reinforcing that, because it one day has to happen. And literally what was happening, that because my friend was working in Disney Australia, I want to work in Disney Australia. And even for my mother, is from Italy, is completely of the other point of. So when I went to Spain, and after America, for her was close, really close. So you are close. You are not in the other point. So
it's all relative.
Was easy, but yes, of course, it's a relative. Of course, I lost a girlfriend before then my wife, because I was moving. You know that some contact, you lose some contact, some part. Yes, and whatever is the choice is a good choice. Is not, when I was 20, I was telling my friend, you are stupid because you stay there. Now that I'm growing up and I see a lot of other things, and I will never say that anymore, because I lose something and I win something, I gain some other things. And they didn't lose a lot of things that sometimes for the life is better.
Yeah. It's very individual, right? It's like it's always
Yeah,
going to come at a
so
cost, no matter what.
exactly.
Decisions like this.
So I did that. I am not regretted, but I know even what you lose in the same time.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I saw my friends that they didn't lose a relationship, friendship, and in the same time they are happy. So that is
Mm.
a choice that each one has. Depend the moment. Depend in one moment of your life, your age is the only thing. Whatever it is, try to not regret.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
I
take the chance. I take the chance because I don't want to say, if I take that one, I don't know how I want to take it,
yeah.
and after if is not a good decision, I can go back. You always
Yeah.
can go back in a lot of things, but
Yeah.
the chance
I always
happened just one time.
I feel like regret the greater I personally always feel like the greater regret is not taking an opportunity, because at least if you take the opportunity, then you know. I hate the
Yeah,
hardest thing
exactly.
is not knowing. You know what I mean? If you don't make that
Exactly.
step and you just say, I'm just going to keep here, you're always going to be wondering what it could have been like, you know? And I feel like
That is.
it's so I think a lot of us of people that would hate this idea of the unknown and not having the chance to at least try an idea, we have little choice but to jump. But others, maybe more conservative among us, are like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good with that. I won't even ask myself that question. I think it really kind of comes down to who you are. I have a follow-up question to the last one. It's not really a question, but more of like just a thought. But what was the name of the guy in Florida? Sorry, in Australia, that who was an Italian that had left, and you called him, or you stalked him for a while,
Davide,
basically. Davide?
Davide
Okay.
Benvenuti, sì.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering if one of the reasons why he was sympathetic to your case and the fact that he kind of took you under his wing and helped kind of give you some advice. I wonder if it's because he had to make similar decisions, right? Because he was also,
Yeah,
an Italian, had to leave home to be able to pursue his career and find himself literally on the complete opposite side of the world. So I guess. He probably, saw a kindred spirit in you and decided that, he recognized a little bit of himself. Did he
yeah,
ever
no,
share any of that
absolutely.
with you? Like, what's he doing now, this
Yeah.
guy?
Now he is living in Singapore and is a teacher in a university, in a kind of experimental university. And I did
Right.
even a lecture for him 5 months ago for his university. Yeah,
Mm.
in
Wow,
Singapore.
that's awesome. So you're still in touch, the two of you.
Yeah. No,
Oh, that's
yeah.
amazing. Okay, I got another question here from Jimmy Nuto. Let's see here. We got which role do you enjoy the most? Storyboard, animation, ... question mark. Out of all
Right
the things you've
now,
done.
storyboard.
Mm.
Yeah, I love animation. I love a lot of the development part of an animation and give a new character, new idea. That I still loving that part because it's where you create something new. Storyboard, I love it because right now I'm not. I don't want to spend any more time to just address small things. It's like in animation, you have to address the thumb, you have to address
Yeah.
all this minutia.
You
And
like the
because
macro level.
and because really I'm developing one of my project, and I'm doing. I have already the trailer, and there is part of the trailer already color and everything already
Mhm.
done. I love that creativity and the cinematography. That is what now is my obsession. So how I can use the cinematography to tell the people something. And for
Mhm.
me, with Alberto, that was amazing because it's pure cinematography.
Mhm.
And with Guillermo, and the day by day is a Francisco Ruiz Velasco that I was working, because Guillermo is an entity a lot of time. But with Francisco, you were really talking about the cinematography. You are really deal with that, and that is what right now I love. I love to do it, And so even I try to editing my things, my storyboard, because I want to see if I can tell something in with a cut, with in a way. I don't want to be an editor. I want to be, but I want to understand. I want to try it and see if that works. That is why Arcane for me was an amazing product, because that is beautiful. The music, the editing, the how they were, he was working, and how, and there is a kind of new way to tell you something, and that was for me. This is fresh, like where I can tell you when with Alberto. I don't know if the people knows that I tell you, I don't know if it's a new, but when we were doing Windshield Wiper, I remember we were in a coffee bean in Los Feliz, and we were talking about in animation doing a step or not. And Alberto started to work in Sony as a production designer for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Now everything influenced the other things. But Alberto, in that moment, he started to rush the animation, the short, because he want to show to the producer in Sony what he was capable to do, because he want to do Spider-Man in that style. This is why Spider-Man has that style. And of course, after there was more money there. And there was even there the discussion. Now, Alberto doesn't remember what born before. But there was that discussion, the coffee bean, that we started to say, look, Alberto, with your style, maybe it's better do in a 2 and not in 1, the animation. Why we don't try? And so we tried. There is one run when the guy is running in the rain with the flowers, and he go to drink to the girl, and after step down, and you would see the flower, one petal go down. All that was the beginning shot. There was the first shot we were doing, and I remember this with the animator. It was Jordi, I think. Let me remember. Jordi Gaspar. We were trying, because there was something beautiful in the blocking that was a step that when we redefined, it was not the same things. Plus with the graphicness of Alberto, I said, and we understand that if we make a rule, it was not working. And again, because there was some moment where you need a step, and there was some moment there, no, it's better full. So that was another kind of exploration that we had, and after Spider-Man, you see the same. So it was was that kind of exploration that we start there. We had that when I was an animator, and now, and you develop a new language, or like Alberto with the some camera in Spider-Man, is because there was Alberto there. And now for me, an Arcane, or even the new movie I was with Guillermo, that this is why I like storyboard and animation in this moment.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because it gives you the kind of influence that you're looking for to sort of transform the production. We have a whole pile of questions that piled up. I'm wondering,
will be faster.
David and I, we like to do this rapid fire thing when we get all backed up like this. So let's see if we can tear through these and make people's day by getting their questions answered. So we got first one here from Joe Keyframes. What scene, shot, etc. was your favorite from the Windshield Wiper, and why? That's probably a very difficult question.
Oof. For me, is related, I think, with the music. It's like where the music start, the beautiful music, at the end, it start ramp up. I love the shot in on the beach, and yeah, I love. I don't know, because if I think the homeless that one of my friend in DreamWorks did, Tyler, or that I think was an amazing animation, or Albert that he did, the guy was smoking, the
It's a,
the the
it's a difficult
philosopher.
question. The whole
I
film is
don't
so
know.
beautiful.
I
So like, how
think
do
I
you even
will
start?
relate. I don't know, that music. I love so much the music when he start to ramp up, more or less close to the end, that there is some shot there. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, but I don't
You're
know.
allowed. You're allowed to answer like I can't. It's super
I
fair.
think I can. I think I can. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. Another question here from Louis Schick. Hello, I have a question. What is the best website to find reference? It's which is
Whoa.
Let's keep this one for or Q&A sessions.
we probably could, but I am curious to see if there is something that, like, over time, if you've actually run into a special source, Marco, that you go to all the time. No.
No. Okay. There is my source are the people. Really,
Mm,
it's like there is a people that put the things on them Instagram, on their things, and a lot of time they search amazing things, and I know that these people, when they publish something, is interesting to watch, and after
yeah,
I
totally.
create my library,
Okay,
is, yeah, there is no special. No, I
you're a
go
scavenger of many sources.
always, yeah,
I get
and
it.
people, because I'm
I
interested
got
in people too.
Makes sense. We got another question here, which seems very specific. I feel like maybe they also are from Italy, because it sort of seems to indicate that they have a bit of experience there. In Italy, you often study little or badly the English language. Did you have difficulty finding work abroad because of the language?
No, but it's difficult.
Right.
When I went to DreamWorks, I was not understanding almost anything. You David, remember, was really hard. But no, of course, if I had better English, even right now, my life will be easier. Of course, because you can express better. You can. Maybe I will be already a director if my English was better, because I can deal with. Maybe, I don't know, but no, no one stopped me. But I think I get things later because
Mm,
my English.
right.
I didn't get maybe some opportunity because of that. In one point, my brain is, I can tell you, I know 3 languages. No one of them is good: Spanish, Italian, and now I learned three, and I missed 3, because now everything is a mess.
Right.
So I can tell you, the language part of my brain is not my strong part. I have to deal with that. I have to be honest. Look, I will be not an English amazing speaker. No, that is what it is.
So if it would be fair for me to then summarize that by saying that basically, it could be a challenge, but it shouldn't stop people from actually chasing after their dreams.
Absolutely no. I will go
Yeah.
even in China or Japan. That is even harder. I don't care.
Yeah. You will adapt one way or another. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. It's scary,
Um,
but yeah,
but I mean, like anything, any big change always comes with a little bit of
yeah.
fear, right? Bukawe, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Question. Hello, I will with all of your experience, do you still make or still take as much pleasure in animating, or even more than when you were a junior and you were in a hurry to improve? So basically, after all these years, do you still like to slow it down and just enjoy the animation process? Do you ever go? Now that you're storyboarding, do you even animate ever?
Yeah, but I always suffer. There is never.
Animation is suffering.
No, I don't. I A lot of time, maybe because I always changing. I'm always changing, so I never. It's like I never, okay, I'm a good in animation and I want to do this, and okay, is that what I want to do? No, I always try to push, and so I always put myself
Out of your
in a
comfort zone.
zone,
Mm.
uncomfortable zone. Even when I change from storyboard to bad guy to Guillermo del Toro, when you storyboard with Francisco, when you storyboard with that movie, is not animation storyboard. They will more go into arcane kind of storyboard. So for me was I never did it. Okay, let me try. And so I always in what I'm doing, I have to learn what I'm doing. So I never had that situation that I'm comfortable. Maybe it's me, I don't know, but I still searching for that.
Mm. So if people are uncomfortable doing a new thing, that might actually be a good sign, basically, potentially.
For me, yeah,
Keeps you
for me,
hungry.
yes, you are learn. Yes, yes. In the same
Um,
time, I changed when I felt that I was my animation when I was just animating a shot without the development. That was a boring moment for me.
mhm, mhm.
So that is what I was pushing in other way.
Well, it goes back to your mom always asking you why you keep leaving studios. I think you're addicted to that growth. I think you're addicted to that feeling
Yeah,
of I'm learning
Yeah,
something. And when
comfort,
yeah,
equals boredom
totally.
equals let's move on.
yeah. Sometimes that I sometimes I feel that,
Yeah.
but I want that.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. You're chasing after it because it's scary, but it
Yeah,
feels good. It's like
yeah.
you're so conflicted. T sub super T suba animation asks, what changed the most in the industry or the animation industry from your perspective in the past decade of your career, positive and slash negative? Like, what were the big things over the career that you can remember that shifted things the way you did it?
Okay, for me, the shift is the quality of the animation required now is always better and better. The quality of the people in the animation are really, really always stronger and stronger. There is a new generation that is insanely good. I love that. What we lost, I think we are losing, is the time to think, because now everyone want to do everything cheaper and faster, and I don't see the studio care too much about the story you are telling.
Mm.
It's like the they care more about, okay, these are things that we are telling will make money. Of course has to
Mhm.
make money, yes, I am totally
Yeah.
understand, but sometimes I don't see them in between. I
Mhm.
always see this the culture dealing more to has to make money than we tell a story. That a lot of time Pixar teach us that when a story is well done, give you even money for a
Mhm.
long period. And I think that we are losing the time, the timing to sometimes not in pre-production, because there is sometimes the movie are there for 3 years and they are constantly changing, but they are losing time in production. That for me sometimes is, I don't believe too much in the process, that in American process, because I think at one point there is a story that you like it or not. Now do the best version of that. Like a lot of time happen in live action. They go for that and they have to do it. They do that one. In animation is a constantly rethinking. And for my experience, a lot of time you don't have a better movie. You have just a different movie, but
Okay.
with the less time to do it, because of course the timing. So
Hmm.
that is something that we are losing. That that timing, that now is everything has to be now, done.
Not
I
about
don't
doing
know.
it right. It's just about getting it done often is kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
We are officially past time, but I wanted to see if we could answer one quick question. In this question, I'm going to see if we can get to the very, very top. If we can summarize. Well, let me just bring the question up. So, what's the best advice you could give to animators working in the industry now to grow as artists and with time be able to get into higher positions like yourself, seniors, leads, and supervisors? I'm wondering if you had one at the top of the list of things, what would be the one piece of advice you would give people that is going to be the most powerful?
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
No.
If you get this wrong, it's going to be your fault, basically.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Okay. I'll tell you I'm coming from another culture, so when I see this, I'm not doing this job because I want to be a lead, a supervisor, or senior. I'm doing this because I love to do this. Generally, when I became I supervised something, that is because I was a feeling that I want to do that, because if I don't have it, I'm not interested anymore. It's not because I want that from the beginning. Absolutely. My dream was working in Disney or DreamWorks, was not become a supervisor in DreamWorks or became whatever. And after that happened. Now, the only thing I can tell, if to answer this question, I think you have to put on top of everything the team. I will put that, working with the team and the will with the team. I was sometime, if I have to, and happened to me, is not good for, if someone producer is listening, don't listen this advice. But yeah, because you have to please them too. But I always was searching the quality on top of everything. I was trying the best I can for the quality, and if one day I prefer give the quality and don't give the the footage. I always put myself in that situation that, yeah, okay, I have to try to give you the footage, but the quality, because at the end of everything, when you show your things, no one is asking you in how much time you did. Always the people are watching the quality of you show to them. So now I understand that you have to please production. Yes, because you have, even that is a collaboration. And this is for me, even when you dealing with a team. And so when you became a lead and supervisor, I want to be the guy that my team respect. That is for me. They are the artists. They are the people that I really respect. They are the people I really want to work with. And so I want that every day they respect my opinion. And plus, for me, is always a conversation. Put yourself on top of anyone. I remember there was a moment that Pierre was, I was leading the karate in Kung Fu Panda 3, and Pierre was already head of animation, but in that moment, he was working with me as an animator. And never happened in between us that never we talk with the titles. We were talking always as a conversation. I see this because I was working on this and I think it's better this. Okay. Now, and if I do this, okay. So that for me is the advice that I can tell. So even the other people can see you as a supervisor. So you don't become a supervisor because someone chose you, but even your team, when you become a supervisor, they're okay with you to supervise that.
Yeah, because the thing they're looking for is someone who's looking out for them, basically.
Yeah,
right.
And sometimes
you're tuned about the team.
And sometimes you are not even the best. a lot of time we have to understand that the supervisor is not always the best one.
Yeah.
A lot of time
the best
I was
animator.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean the best
animator?
animator?
No. So I always tell you, imagine I tomorrow I head of a story or I will be a director. I have to be careful to feeling I'm that because I'm the best one. No.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm lucky, and so I get the situation. So, and I can recognize that people work with me are better than me. I love that, because now my job in that case is make that people feel like they can really work, they can feel better. And so it's like when someone is better than you, the only job you can do is just, what do you need?
Yeah.
It's you asking them,
how can I help you be even better? Need? Exactly.
Yeah,
totally.
It's not the opposite.
Yeah.
So that is my philosophy.
That's good advice. It's really good advice. I feel like a lot of people are looking to be a senior or to move up the ladder, maybe for the wrong reasons. And I think your point is like it's got to be coming from the right place. Because if you're chasing that down just because you want the promotion or you want the recognition or the pay raise, those might be not really good reasons to become a lead.
Look, there was one thing for this. There was one thing I said to DreamWorks for this reason, because a lot of time I saw people wanted the supervising because they want to do the better shot, and not because they want to. And not only in DreamWorks, I saw in Spain, in every place.
This happens everywhere. Yeah.
So I saw that, and at one point I remember to talk with the head of animation. At one point I said, "Look, why we don't create?" Because the in DreamWorks was this lead and supervisor, but the lead figure was ambiguous. It was not clear. Mm-hmm. And so I said, look, why we don't create literally the lead and the supervisor? Now, if you are supervisor, that was what I was saying. If you are supervisor, you don't go to the any award. Means you have to work for the team and for the director and make everything working. Totally. If you want to show your job to the any award and win that, you will be a lead. So it's two jobs. So, and because when you mix these two things, there is a mix of feelings. I want to be a supervisor, so I have the better shot, and I can show how good you am I, and I can win the any award. Yeah. If you separate, I think you will be a better things. Okay, I wanna lead a character. I wanna go to win the any award because I'm feeling the best. So you deal with your character, you do the best you can do, but after has to be someone, and so the supervisor deal with the sequence, deal with the people, because it's a challenging every day.
Oh yeah.
And try don't mess things, because when you are in the other position, you have to do shot. You don't have time to think. You have to deal with the animator, with every shot, with the pressure of the production. Now tell me when you are really lucid and where you will not lose pieces. You are losing pieces every single day. So this is my point of view and my vision. I know that is not what's happening a lot of time, but this is what I will love to
I'm glad
do.
you say it though, because you have this experience and not everyone has that perspective, and they might not even know why they actually want that kind of a role. So I think just having a bit more perspective of what it means. It's not all the glory and all the things that they might think it is. It's a lot of work, and it's good advice. Marco, we are way past time, so I don't want to take any more of your precious time of the day. Same with David. I know you're both very busy. I just want to thank you both for hanging out with us today. Got to pick your brain a little bit, and it was fun to hear the epic journey from small town Italy all the way to the big leagues in California. It was epic, and I hope we get to have another conversation down the road.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to sync up again after your experience working with Brad Bird, because I'm personally interested to know how this part of your career is going to go.
That is another new one. Yes, it's true.
Oh yeah, it should be. It
Awesome.
should
Okay, yeah, I
come
would
with
love
chock
to
full
talk
of
with you
stories.
guys. I love it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Okay, well, Marco,
I told you
how
an
do
hour
like
and a half
that?
is passing too fast.
It does. It blows past like
Yeah.
really, really fast. It's kind of dumb. Thank you, Marco. Have a wonderful rest of your
Thank
day.
you very
David,
much
you as well.
to everyone.
Cheers,
Yeah.
guys.
The
Bye,
same.
Marco. Bye, Brent.
Bye.
Bye bye
Take care, guys.
everyone. Bye David, Brent. Bye guys.
So yet another conversation, yet another amazing set of stories and perspectives. Marco was very gracious to just hang out with us and just talk casually about his life's journey. I just keep thinking about this moment for him where he was in Italy and thinking like, it wasn't even like he loved movies and going to movies, even like this picture that he painted of being in a theater with only a bunch of kids because all his friends were like, "Oh, you're gonna go watch a baby movie?" And he's like, "They're not for babies." And he's watching this stuff and it just didn't even dawn on him. It's so weird that I keep hearing this story over and over again of people just loving being part of the consuming process of all this amazing art and never for some reason ever hitting their brains that it could be them. I feel like this is probably more foreign thought for me than it is for a lot of other people, because it sounded like it wasn't like an obvious choice, or it wasn't like a school right next door that he knew about that was teaching something like this. But even living so close to Sheridan College, which is where I went to school, which was really well known in Canada for being one of the basically, or even North America, one of the go-to places to learn. Even that, I didn't even apply for the animation program. I applied for illustration, and then having been exposed to and watching a bunch of animators actually animate in the classroom right next to me, I'm like, I really feel like I need to do that. So I don't know. It's an interesting exercise, an interesting thought experiment. This idea that I think a lot of people that got into animation early on weren't like, I'm going to be an animator. I've heard this a few times where people, that was their focus even as a child, but I feel like it's super, super rare. I feel like it's like they just fell into it in some weird way. Not because they didn't ever like want to be able to do it. They just didn't think they could. I didn't think there was a clear path to getting there. And I feel like technology and all the online learning that we have today really does make that a lot easier. Thank God, because now we're seeing probably animators coming from very small parts of the world. All they need is an internet connection, and they can be exposed to someone who's got experience to teach them sort of the basics, which I'm sure the younger Marco would have killed for back in the day, right? Is having access to, Animation Mentor or iAnimator or whatever, so they can actually get paired up with somebody who had answers to his burning questions. So yeah, we're spoiled today, but it doesn't necessarily make it easy. You still have to put in the work, and you still need to have the passion. Otherwise, this industry will eat you alive. You need to love it 100%. Otherwise, it can be very difficult. I've seen a lot of people jump in for the wrong reasons, and it's just not for them. You really kind of need to be driven by a passion for it. And if that is a good fit for you and you find yourself one day at a studio, it feels really great. It feels like you found your true family, because you're working with a bunch of other people that all have that same passion, that same drive. And it feels very good to be around a number of like-minded individuals. I feel like that's one of the kind of rare gifts that artistic endeavors like animation gives us, is because you could work other jobs. How many people are truly passionate about banking, for instance? I feel like there's a lot of smart people that work in banking, but they have very different backgrounds and interests. Where in animation, there's lots of different backgrounds, but the interests are actually pretty tight, I find, more often than not. And I think that can lead to a lot of really fast friends and long-lasting relationships. And it's just kind of awesome to be around that. Well, anyways, I guess that will wrap it up for today. Thank you for being around. Stay animated and all that jazz. And we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.